man. It's the Oscars, of course. You know, them trying to win points with the foreign films, I guess, you know. I don't know.
That makes sense. It was a Korean film, right?
Yes,
it's a Korean film?
Correct.
Is it Old Boy associated? Because I know it has the same actor that's in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, if I'm not mistaken.
Because Bong, the director, is a huge like cinephile, so he's kind of like their Tarantino, where he uses
Tarantino. That's what I got from it.
He uses all of these dudes from the past that are big in the culture, which is it's crazy.
I'll have to check that out, man. Since I'm a fan of the Old Boy series or trio or saga, whatever.
The trilogy, right?
Yeah. The trilogy.
Vengeance, Lady. Was it Lady Death or something?
Lady Vengeance, yes. Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and then Old Boy.
There you go.
But it's all backwards.
So go check it out. It's free if you have Hulu. So
Parasite.
Nice. Yeah.
James, are you gonna bow out or are you good?
No, I'm gonna. I got two, and it's because I picked these two because of one of the main actors in this movie that's in our movie focus. Brendan Fraser. He's one of them is Airheads, which I really like. It's just a good time to watch. A lot of funny moments in there, and it's a pretty positive movie. It's pretty funny. And then my other one is The Mummy, the original one.
Nice.
Yeah. I'd say that's a golden era of Brendan Fraser's career.
He was on the top for a minute.
Yeah. And then he did George of the Jungle.
Oh well, he did Bedazzled, Monkey Bone, a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Bedazzled was actually pretty cool.
For its time, Elizabeth Hurley, right?
Yes.
Those are my two.
Awesome. Brendan Fraser movies.
Nice.
Yeah.
The Mummy and
Airheads.
He has a lot of good movies, dude. For real stuff.
He did that Looney Tunes one a couple years back, right?
Yeah. Dude. Action.
Dude, School Ties. Have you seen School Ties?
Yeah. I watched it in high school.
That's a pretty crazy one.
Let's see, I got three, and they're kind of all over the spectrum. So the first one is I finally got to see Jexy with Adam Devine, which is basically a play on how we are obsessed with our phones. So basically, this dude he gets a new phone, and it's a new iOS instead of Siri, she's called Jexy, but she starts manipulating every aspect of his life, because he just how people they sign up for something and they just skip through all of the regulations. They're like, yeah, I accept right away.
Yeah.
So he does that, and it basically allows her to hack everything in his entire life, and he has to kind of deal with this nuisance. And it's hilarious, because obviously the actress who plays Jexy is doing like the robotic voice, but she's like makes jokes and does all of these it's something you definitely have to experience. Very underrated film. I didn't hear much about it, but is
it a comedy?
Yeah, definitely. It's very much comedy. Of course, Adam Devine, if you're unfamiliar with the name, he is one of the main heads behind Workaholics. And this movie,
Oh, you're talking about Adam.
Yeah.
Okay. Fucking Pitch Perfect Adam?
Yes. Yeah. So you can't... you can basically tell where the movie goes based on him being in it, but it's great. It's a funny movie. You should check it out.
You're all about workaholic fools. Huh?
I am. Next up, Shudder original new limited series called Cursed Films, where they basically dive into all of the urban legends that have kind of been built around like The Exorcist, Poltergeist, The Omen. They kind of dive deep for about 30 minutes into each of those films and tell you basically what's real and what's not, and the kind of mythos that has been created around that. It's very interesting stuff.
They give you the Swan facts, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's sick.
It's pretty amazing.
What is that called?
Cursed Films. And then my final one is We Summon the Darkness. It's a brand new film. It came out, I think, last weekend with Alexandra Daddario, Johnny Knoxville. It's a crazy horror indie film about basically a bunch of young adults go to a metal show and then they get involved in a kind of like a sacrifice thing later in the night. It's pretty. I can't give away too much because it is kind of a contained film. So if I say too much, then you can kind of figure out where it's going. But very fun. It's not on physical copy right now. It's only available on VOD. But I bought it it was $7 to rent and $10 to buy it. So I just bought the VOD because I thought that made sense. And it ended up being a really good film. So check it out.
It has Johnny Knoxville, Knoxville?
As a pastor, of all things.
Holy shit. It's a horror movie?
Uh-huh.
So he's kind of serious in it?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Okay. Because I thought he was pretty good in The Ringer when he was serious in The Ringer.
Yeah, The Ringer's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great movie. I was just watching Jackass 3 last night, and I had forgotten how crazy that movie is. But yeah, Jexy, Cursed Films, and We Summon the Darkness.
Awesome.
Nice.
And that'll move us into our movie focus.
Oh yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now for the movie focus of the week.
Alright, so this week we're talking about Encino Man, courtesy of our own Diego. The film's rated PG. It's from 1992. It's a high school comedy. It runs at 1 hour and 28 minutes, and it's got a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What?
It's directed by Les Mayfield, who's done a bunch of stuff like was Blue. I know he did Blue Streak and a bunch of different comedies. This was his directorial debut, actually.
Whoa!
But the film stars Pauly Shore, Brendan Fraser, Sean Astin, Megan Ward, Michael DeLuise, and Robin Tunney. The film focuses on two high school outcasts, Dave and Stoney, who, whilst digging a swimming pool in Dave's backyard, find a frozen caveman. For my little write-up for the film, I wrote, Encino Man, which got its name due to the film taking place in Encino, Los Angeles, California, was undoubtedly greenlit by Disney because Wayne's World popularity had already proved there was an audience for this type of humor, but Pauly Shore was also a hot property at the time, having his own MTV show and on his way to having massive success within the next couple years. The film has been bogged down by its detractors over the years, but considering its early 90s origins and how it manages to get away with a PG rating with some more of the crass humor in there, in my opinion, I think this film still deserves its niche in pop culture history. It's something of a gateway film for the youth, but can also be digested as an adult. Just the same.
Well said, buddy.
Dang.
So greasy.
Thank you.
Did you write that all by yourself, man?
Sir, yes, sir.
Damn, dude. It's very rare that you open up a movie focus with swan facts like that. That shit was amazing.
Thank you. So I'll give the floor to Diego, and why don't you tell us what made you pick this film?
Actually, last week after we all hung up and stuff, after we recorded, I actually saw this was on Vudu, and I had just talked to one of my uncles, and which specifically, he was the one that actually showed me this movie when I was like 6 years old. Mm-hmm. Like we went to go rent this, and I think we rented Son-in-Law as well.
Oh, okay.
So, and I remember seeing this movie, and I was like, "Oh my god, this movie's so cool!" So it reminded me back of like when I was growing up, and I like at that stage of time and stuff, and the grunge and even the cholos at that time were really different than the ones they are right now. That were like back in the mid '90s and stuff. It was cool. It was a really fun time. I feel the early '90s, and I wanted to share with you guys. And it's like, we're doing this quarantine thing. So I was like, man, I want to do something that's for free that everybody could watch, and it's also fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
So it brings back memories.
Nice.
Very, very good, feel-good film for a non-feel-good time.
Definitely.
Try to keep it light, bro. Try to keep it light,
Yeah. Dude, I was really happy when I heard that you guys were doing Encino Man, because I really, really like this film too. So I was like, I got to come back. Not only did it take a worldwide pandemic, but Encino Man.
Of course. The great Pauly Shore.
The legend.
That like the 90s was his time, dude.
His parents owned the comedy store or the comedy factory, Laugh Factory. And I heard like recently his mom passed away not that long ago, and so they left everything with him. So he pretty much runs it and owns it now. And he's always there, but that's what I heard about Mr. Pauly Shore nowadays.
After what movie did he do that he didn't recover from, like his last one?
I believe, if I remember correctly, it's James's favorite, In the Army Now.
Yes.
He says, so his agents told him, "Yo, don't do this movie. It's not gonna be good for you. It's not gonna be pretty." He didn't listen to him. He did the film, and after that, it was just like everything dried up for him. Like the weasel thing, nobody it was almost like Pauly Shore became uncool to be a fan of. And a few years ago, I went to the festival Beach Goth when it was still a thing in Orange County, and a big thing they had was Pauly Shore was running around and helping host the different stages, and and even then, I got to see him live. I didn't get to talk to him or anything personally, but it was awesome to see him, just from a fan standpoint. But everybody was still like had that kind of persona, like, who fuck Pauly Shore? Like, why is he even here? It was like people were being mean to him. The bands were just like putting on a show, like, yeah, why is this guy here? Or just like acting like if he was a nuisance. And it was so weird to me that he's still kind of haunted by that stigma, it seems like.
That sucks, man. I feel like Pauly Shore was way ahead of his time on like just his personality and just being that type of person. Yeah, he got typecast as the weasel, but come on, man, that was him.
But even that, think about that, dude. He created pretty much his own slang, his own language, which is definitely integrated in Encino Man, and is why it's revered. You know what I mean? A lot of that stuff that he says in that film was not written. It's coming from him, and that's why that film works so well. It's almost like Pauly Shore was the early '90s Cardi B. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah. Damn, Cardi Shore.
No, but for me, I feel that Shore kind of, you know how like every era has their like their teen movies, like collection of